Cancer team, and I have Tari Prinster here as well, and she will introduce herself, and then I will go quickly through the agenda, and then we're going to do a quick rundown of oncology yoga, the what, why, and how. We'll do some demonstrations, and then we're going to dig a little into what are ways that you could take this understanding to the next level, and whether or not that's right for you, and review some programs and options of courses that we have going on. And then we will also end up, and then at the end, we will do the Q&A. So some people submitted questions that we're going to hit along the way. And I know you'll probably have questions along the way as well. And we will address those questions at the very end. So if you have questions as we go, just put them into the chat and I'll tackle them at the end. So, Tari, I am going to share my screen. And I love that you already gave a thumbs up. Are you just trying to play with the emotions? So, all right, here is, I've already done the agenda. So Tari, why don't you start first by introducing yourself, and then we will go into the presentation.
Thank you, Josi, for that lovely introduction. I'm Tari Prinster, and close to 23 years ago, I founded this methodology, Yoga for Cancer, as a result of my own diagnosis and going through it at the time, which was more than 20 years ago. So at that time, doctors, oncologists were not recommending physical exercise or any kind of exercise. They were saying, go home and rest after treatment. I felt as a yogi then that that was not quite right. And so I started looking into the science behind yoga and bringing it to my own healing process. So welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We hope to discuss those three things: the what of yoga for cancer, the why, really big question, the why of yoga for cancer, and also then some demonstrations with the how. So let's get started, Josi.
Wonderful.
And I will
so why don't you start with defining what is cancer in our world today?
What is where we're going to start, and what is cancer in our world today? I think it starts with the really big number of 18 million new cases worldwide every year of new cancer diagnosis. Now, that does not reflect the number of existing number of people who have already been diagnosed, but the number every single year. And this number does not seem to be getting smaller. What this represents and what this tells us is that 40% of our world will be diagnosed with cancer. 40% of every person in the world will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. And that is also a very large and disturbing number. I mean, it points to the question we often hear now: why are more younger people being diagnosed with cancer? Is there a cancer epidemic? Well, those are topics for another discussion. But the really important thing of cancer in our world today, unlike what cancer was in the world when I was diagnosed, is that because we have these incredible cancer treatments, 68% of those 18 million, 68% of those diagnosed this year will survive. Now, that number is really important because what it says is that more people survive cancer than die of cancer. More survive. So what does this mean? It means that cancer really is, because of it's a horrible thing to get diagnosed with cancer, but the diagnosis is not really the hard part. The hard part of cancer are the treatments, these wonderful treatments that save lives, save more than half the people who are diagnosed with cancer. But the treatments leave us with short-term and long-term side effects. Long-term side effects that can affect our daily functioning, and in some cases, increase the risk of other diseases and also put us in danger of a cancer recurrence. So the hard part is managing these side effects, whatever they might be. There are many, neuropathy, lymphedema, and many, many more. So that is what we are dealing with when we talk about how to get through the hard part of cancer, which leads us to how to manage those side effects. Well, we want to manage the daily functioning. We want to not have neuropathy, which will keep us, as a good close friend of mine who has discontinued his chemo treatments because he has neuropathy so badly he cannot daily function. He cannot do his work. And that is the most important thing, is that we want to manage them so that we can complete our treatments, because it's the treatments that save lives. Oftentimes, the risk of comorbidities, if the treatments are not managed well, such as heart disease and lung disease, can increase. And if we don't complete treatments, it also increases the risk of a recurrence. This increases mortality risk for those who do not manage and complete their treatment. So risk of mortality is the most vital way we can manage our side effects from treatments. And we have help with that. We have help from leaders make recommendations, that make concrete recommendations to cancer patients and survivors. Their recommendation from the American Cancer Society is 150 to 320 minutes of moderate exercise. And the Department of Health and Human Services not only makes the same recommendation, but it adds in recommendations of what kind of exercise. It includes active yoga as a recommended active form of exercise. And of course, we know that vinyasa form of yoga is an active form of yoga. Now, these recommendations did not exist years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer. So I am very, very grateful to the American Cancer Society for giving us these recommendations.
Well, I mean, and I'm just going to jump in here, Tari, and just to give you a breath, is I think that it is a change in the way that that healthcare is managing cancer. And it's and about overall healthcare, and it's about integrative healthcare. 20, 30, 40 years ago, the approach to cancer was obliterate the cancer. And in that process, you were often having debilitating side effects to the patients and failing to support that individual. So protocols and outcomes were not as strong. So integrative healthcare is on a rise significantly in kind of normal healthcare institutions. Even in the last 10 years that I've been working with you, it has been significantly changed. So that is where we were grateful. It was actually in 2014 that the American Cancer Society came out with these recommendations. And it only 2018 did the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And it's those messages that really started to resonate in the type of work that we do and in other different types of modalities. So anyways, Tari, I thought I would jump in and help you there.
That was great help. Thank you for reminding me of those dates, because they certainly came after the date of my diagnosis, was in the year 2000. But these recommendations that we are grateful for and have come to us from these higher authorities, unfortunately, that 18 million of new diagnoses of this cancer patients and survivors included in the every year since then, they are not meeting these recommendations. 70% of cancer patients and survivors do not currently follow and meet these guidelines. And this is the real reason why we need to bring yoga for cancer to them. Creates the real reason why we are doing the work that we do, which is bringing and we'll talk a little bit now later about what is needed, the what, and the science behind the yoga that we do. And I'm going to start by asking all of you there to join me in a little demonstration. I'm going to be doing it from a chair, so I want everyone to just sit back in their chair, and you can see when we do chair yoga and yoga for cancer, we are not leaning against the back of the chair. So whatever you're seated in, please sit on the front of your chair, have your feet solidly on the ground. And I'm going to take off my glasses to do this little demonstration because I don't want to knock them off my face. So I'm sitting up nice and tall, and I have my arms down by my side and my hands facing my body. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate some of the science behind the yoga for cancer methodology. When I take a breath in and turn my palms out and lift my arms straight up towards the ceiling, not looking at it, but looking straight forward. And then I exhale and bring my arms down. I'm doing what's called elongation of the spine in all of its natural curves. I'm going to do that again. Inhale, turn the palms out, lift the arms up. And this time, as I exhale, I'm going to bring my arms into what we call cactus pose. And I'm going to feel my shoulder blades on my back sort of pinching together. I'm going to take an inhale again, lift my heart and my chin, but not look at the ceiling, just look slightly up. And as I exhale, I round the spine forward, bringing the elbows and palms together. Inhale again, back to my cactus pose. And this time, as I exhale, I'm going to bring one hand over to the opposite side and touch it. And then inhale again, sliding my arm across my chest, underneath my armpit, and back into cactus. Inhale again, look forward. Exhale and twisting to the opposite side. Inhale, draw the skin across the front of my chest and back into our cactus pose. And then as I exhale, I'm going to bring one hand down, inhale the other arm straight up towards the ceiling. And as I exhale, side bend over to one side. Inhale, both arms back up to center. And as I exhale, I'm going to stroke that arm, drawing the skin towards the center of my chest. Inhale, both arms up. As I exhale, I bring one hand down. Inhale again. And side bend over to the opposite side. Inhale back to center, both arms up, and stroking that arm that I just side bent with all the way down to the center of my chest. Inhale, both arms up. And as I exhale, I bring both arms down, palms facing towards my body. Now, I just moved the spine in all 5 directions that the spine moves in. I'm going to do that one more time. On an inhale, palms turn out, I elongate my spine. As I exhale, I come into cactus pose. That was elongation. Now I'm going to inhale, lift the chest. Now it's a tiny little back bend. That's the second way. And as I exhale, the third way, rounding the spine forward. Inhale back to my cactus pose. And as I exhale, I twist. That's the third way, hand touching. Inhale back to center and exhale, twisting to the opposite direction. Inhale back to center. And as I exhale, I bring my arms up towards the ceiling, chest looking forward. And I bring the arms straight up as I inhale. Exhale, one arm down, side bend. That's the 5th way. Inhale back to center. And I'm going to stroke that arm just one time with an inhale to the center of my body. Lift both arms straight up on an inhale, elongation. And now as I exhale, I bring one hand down. Inhale again, elongate, and side bend. Inhale back to center. And I'm going to do one more stroking, lymph brushing of that lifted arm back to the center by body. Both arms up, elongate, and then slowly on the exhale, bring both arms back down onto the chair. So that's just a very short, sweet, simple demonstration of some of the science behind our Yoga for Cancer methodology. So let me find my glasses back here, and we will talk a little bit about, so we talked about the what of yoga and cancer, the why of yoga and cancer. I demonstrated here, but what did we really just do? Well, some of the things that we did in that demonstration that apply to Yoga for Cancer is deal with one of the very common side effects, which is range of motion, loss of range of motion. So we were increasing our range of motion by elongating the spine, by opening the chest. But it was also, as I said and demonstrated and spoke to, 5 ways of moving the spine to keep the spine healthy, because it really is. And the center of keeping all of the cells in our body healthy, all the cells being nurtured by the blood that flows through the spine, all of the nerve endings that signal to our body where things are wrong or how we can relax. This is where spine health comes from and contributes to the overall health of our body. But we also, I talked about ways of managing the risk of lymphedema. We did what is called lymph brushing, and we raise the arms high up, but not straining them, and lifting them up, stroking them. All of this is preventative techniques to the side effect of lymphedema. 2 side effects here of cancer treatments that are very, very common. But overall, what we just did was we supported immune function. We increased our resistance to other diseases and to a recurrence of cancer. This is what we just did. Now, let's look at some of what is behind the science of these sequences. Well, in Yoga for Cancer methodology, we use movement. Movement is what vinyasa is. Movement is the movement of muscles that moves the bones in our body. Really simple, but very much the science base of what is behind yoga. We also use gravity. Many times we were using the effects of gravity to strengthen our spine, but to also move lymph. But the other really important science behind all of this demonstration was the use of breath. The use of breath matched with the movement of muscles and bones. When I do an inhale, it's very different than when I do an exhale. What is happening in my body, what is being stimulated, what are the muscles that are moving deep inside my body are very, very important to match with the proper movement. But then, of course, there's another science that is not talked about very much, but is very, very effective. And actually, in the world of cancer treatments, in cancer recovery, lymphatic massage is becoming a very broad science and a very broad complementary service in reality. So we used lymph brushing, which is another part of the science behind our Yoga for Cancer methodology. So
sorry, I want to interrupt, because we did get a question and you just were talking about it. So I'm going to give you a chance to explain a little bit more. So you were just talking about the breath and the muscles that are going on underneath. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Because we were asked a question around have a better explanation of diaphragmatic breathing and stimulating the thoracic duct. And I know it's something that we like to talk about, just to give an example.
Okay, well, that's very deep into the science, which is the depth that we get into in our training program is understanding the lymphatic system, because lymph brushing and lymph massage and their relationship to the deep to diaphragmatic breathing is understanding the science behind both of those, understanding the science behind muscle movement and understanding the science behind the lymph system. So the lymph system runs throughout the body, and there is one very large lymph vessel that resides in the center of the body. It is just behind the sternum here. It's in the center of the body, and all lymph flows in the direction of that, what's called the thoracic duct. It is the largest lymph vessel in the body. Lymph collects there. Lymph moves, and this is the science behind the lymph system, moves in only one direction. And we want to encourage the lymph movement in that one direction to that large lymph vessel, because that's where it collects, for it's then being irrigated from the body, from that one central location. Now, understanding the muscle system and how muscles are in our body and what happens when we breathe. So breath is taken in and out of our body with various muscles, but the biggest and strongest muscle is the diaphragm, which is not a muscle. My diaphragm muscle does not move my arm up, but my diaphragm muscle does move up and down to bring air into my lungs. I need that oxygen to feed the cells of my body. So that muscle is different than, say, the muscular structure of how I move my legs to walk. The diaphragm moving up and down also moves past that thoracic duct. The thoracic duct is situated right centrally. The diaphragm moves around it. So every time we breathe in and breathe out, we are helping to irrigate the thoracic, the lymphatic system by moving lymph fluid in and out of the thoracic duct. Now that's a long, complicated answer to that question, but
No,
also a demonstration.
I think that was an excellent reference, and it helps to respond to a question that we have already had. But also, moreover, it gives an indication of the incredible complex need to understand the what, the why, and the how, because we're just talking about one of the many aspects, one of the many side effects and things that a cancer patient and survivor actually wants and needs. So thank you. Sorry for that.
Let me just continue with that. One other thing is that we make a very strong connection in Yoga for Cancer about what happens to the diaphragm when we breathe out. It's the out breath that is most important, and you hear that a little bit more these days in the yoga world. It's not about how big that first inhale can be, it's how deep that exhale can be, because that is the source of relaxation. It's the out breath. And why? It's because the out breath irrigates the lymph system. It's when the diaphragm moves up. So when the diaphragm moves down, that's when you take a big breath in. It's when the diaphragm moves out that we know also stimulates and starts the parasympathetic nervous system, kicks it right into action. And that's what we will need to learn how to do in Yoga for Cancer. It's how to breathe out. It is the key to health. It is the key to recovery. And this is one of the important ways that we teach our cancer patients and survivors how to manage their cancer treatment side effects. And it is what survivors want to do. This is what they want. They want to know how to manage their side effects. They want to know how to gain their strength and how to keep their bones strong, which is another side effect of cancer treatment, is bone loss. And most importantly, they want to be able to improve their daily function. They want to prevent a recurrence and they also want to feel normal again. So that feeling of normalcy is the goal of cancer patients and survivors. So when we talk about, what do cancer patients and survivors need? It is maybe not what, if you are not a survivor, if you might imagine that what a cancer patient and survivor going through treatment needs. But I want to refer to this quote that I took from Mr. Iyengar, and he was not writing about cancer when he wrote this, but he did, I think, nail what is most important for those who want to work with cancer patients and survivors to understand, and why we need to know more about the science behind yoga, about the science behind things like our lymph system, our parasympathetic nervous system. Do not imagine you already understand what a survivor needs and wants, and then impose your imperfect understanding on those who come to you for help. This is why we asked you, we want to tell you how, where, and why it is important to get training beyond a regular yoga practice to understand what a cancer patient and survivor needs and wants. So I don't know, Josi, can you give us a little bit more demonstration on how this all comes together in our training programs and what oncology yoga is and how it came to be?
I'm not going to demonstrate. I'll leave you to do the demonstration, but I can do the PowerPoint and the discussion. So I think what Tari's done a great job at is to explore some of the why, some of the background of why we're talking about oncology yoga and where cancer is today. She's done a little bit of how, and I'm now going to kind of take a little bit of the what, and explain a little bit about what is oncology yoga. It's actually a term that we coined about 4 years ago, because we used to be yoga4cancer, and everyone was talking oncology yoga, and we're like, well, let's be oncology yoga. So because this is really important. If you don't have these 4 characteristics, you, in our minds, do not achieve what an oncology yoga professional has done. Is one, you really need to know, as we talked about in the beginning, is what is cancer's impact. If you don't understand what a cancer patient and survivor faces, both in treatments and side effects and long-term risk factors, then you are not able to really understand, and your imperfect understanding is clear and upfront. You also need to understand the science of yoga. And that is, one of my favorite quotes from Tari is that yoga is as scientific as it is spiritual. And there is so much rich research that has been done. A decade ago, 2 decades ago, when Tari started, a decade ago, that research was not as well known. And we're going to get a little bit into that research, and I'm going to give you some homework to kind of get you to dig in, because for us, everything we do must be founded in research. It must be founded in facts and understanding, or we're not going to be safe nor effective. The other thing is a cancer specifics. Every cancer is different. Every person is different. Every treatment is different. We often get asked, give us a sequence that you would do for breast cancer surgery. Give us a sequence that you would do for prostate cancer. It's almost impossible to provide a set protocol. The reason being is what a cancer patient and survivor is dealing with is a bit different on any given day, on any given treatment, and they are different. Every one of us handles everything in the world a little bit differently. Plus, people bring other backgrounds, other immune systems, other comorbidities, other challenges. So you must understand the patient's specifics. And then the final thing, which I think is really important and can't be undersold, is that if we're not helping cancer patients and survivors achieve that American Cancer Society recommendation, if we're not helping them, if we're not helping humanity turn that 70% into 70% are doing it or 100% are achieving, then we are failing in our jobs. So an oncology yoga professional must achieve this their survivorship guidelines. So what is oncology yoga? It is an evidence-informed yoga method tailored to address the specific mental, physical, and emotional needs left by a cancer and a cancer treatments. It is comprehensive practice, and it is designed to mitigate those side effects, those briefly side effects that we touched on. There's a lot more, and there's a lot more science and ways to manage those, because the ultimate goal is for them to manage their protocols, but also to achieve long-term health. You notice in here that we don't talk about type or style or a stage. This is a practice that is being used in every single cancer type and at almost every stage, because most of the side effects that someone faces is ubiquitous across different. You might need to change a little bit here or there depending on where that person is in their recovery or their prognosis, but it's the treatments that cause the side effects. So I'm just going to cherry pick some stuff here because I've already gone into it. It is what Tari talked about, and it is a vinyasa method, largely because without movement, you're not achieving that survivorship guidelines. And because the vinyasa method is so much about matching that breath with movement, we think that is a foundation that can't be overlooked. That is actually supported by the American Cancer Society and the Health and Human U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to actually ensure that they are achieving that long-term health. But we have had people from all lineages participate in the practice and have become very effective, strong teachers. So that shouldn't be shy away, but that is a method. That is the method. We utilize both an active practice and meditation. So Tari did a short little chair-based warm-up arm vinyasa. There's many different sequences and on things, because what we want to do is ensure that we're managing the side effects. Some of those are going to be standing poses. Some of them are going to be relaxation and restorative. So we're trying to do all the different modalities because yoga is as broad as possible, and we're always looking to ensure that we're achieving and best utilizing that to support a cancer patient and survivor. The other thing I want to point out in here is that one of the most, and it was funny, I was having a conversation with a partner organization that we're working with yesterday, and they focus on providing resources to cancer patients during recovery and beyond. And it was talking about the cost of certain types of post-treatment modalities and how that can be a barrier for participation, like doing a walk or doing an expensive gym membership or getting a Peloton bike. Those can be cost barriers, and they also can be very intimidating. One of the most beneficial things about an oncology yoga practice is that it is gradual, and you can actually build strength, and it's very accessible, and it has a low cost of participation. So it is something that, is almost everyone can do.
It's portable.
And it's portable. Absolutely. Great point. So I think we've already kind of talked on this. True compassion comes from knowledge and facts. Without the knowledge and facts, our compassion is short-lived, and that imperfect understanding continues. So what I wanted to go into a little bit is to explain some of the ways that you could potentially understand a little bit more of where oncology yoga fits in your life and how you want to do it. And we're trying to, our goal and mission is that ensure that oncology yoga, our ultimate mission is oncology yoga is prescribed and available to all those touched by cancer. So two of those things: one, the prescription is one of the reasons that we are founded in science, that we advocate and we do research projects, and that is a big focus, because that prescription and working with the healthcare institutions is fundamental to improving the quality of life. The other is access, right? To have it available and accessible to everyone. So we're not quiet about our goal is that we want anyone who's working with a cancer patient and survivor to be well trained, to ensure that they provide a safe and effective practice. One of the things we're not talking about in this practice is the risk factors that come along with it. And there are things that you need to be mindful of when you are working with a cancer patient and survivor. So these are just two of the things that I want to present today and there's other options that I'm going to talk about, is about ways that you could potentially get to better understanding of whether or not this is for you. One, we have a short course that we worked with Give Back Yoga Foundation to offer as part of a diploma that they're offering, but it's also a great quick 5 hours to give you an understanding. It takes what we're talking about today and goes a little bit deeper, a little bit more information, a little bit more lecture, and a little bit more demonstration. It is available 24/7. We actually are going to do a live event in a couple of weeks because it's been so popular. But anyways, and it's you can get CEUs, but it's not a certification. It scratches, it goes a little bit deeper than what we've done today. The second is our certificate program. This is a 75-hour program. It gives you, we've now trained nearly 3,000 teachers. It has been going on for 20 years. Tari started her first training program in 2005, so nearly 20 years, right, Tari?
Correct.
Correct. And so that's a long time. And we evolve it on an annual basis to kind of ensure that it has the latest research, it has the latest information, it uses the latest guidelines. We're always getting feedback from our community because our teachers are out there teaching and giving us information. They're participating in research studies and giving us information that we're always then, because for us, we want to make sure that our teachers are able to provide a safe and effective practice. We offer this program now once a year, and it's a 6-month program, fully online, but we do a lot of these. 18 hours of that 75 hours is done in a webinar format, and you connect with people that are global. So last year, I think we had 20 countries represented in the program, and with various different backgrounds. It is for yoga professionals. We are developing a version of the program that is going to be for healthcare and non-yoga professionals. But one of the reasons we do this is because there is a pretty strong practicum that we require to ensure that someone is going to be safe and effective. Someone's out there, we want to make sure that they have that credibility and ensure that they have that safety. It offers 75 hours of Yoga Alliance and IAYT CEUs, because I know that we need a fair amount. So you get all your CEUs in one thing. And the difference between those two programs is not only the hours, but once you're certified, you get access to all the different exclusive resources because you're now fully part of the community. But we wanted to kind of share these two different options, and I'm going to go a little bit into those.
And before you do go to that, Josi, I just wanted to mention one thing, which is to reinforce what you did say. What we do not go into, and I did not demonstrate, and we have not talked about, are risk factors and what not to do. So often in developing this program, I have yoga teachers and yoga therapists and healthcare professionals ask me what to do for a cancer patient and survivor. Rarely does anyone ask the question, what not to do. So in the short course, we touch a little bit on some of the what not to do's. We have not talked about that here today. In the certificate program, we go in depth into, because it might surprise you that there are, even if you are a 200-hour trained teacher or an 800-hour, 1,000-hour yoga therapist, there are things that we commonly assume are okay to do in yoga that you do not want to do for a cancer patient or survivor. There are risk factors. So knowing those things is really important. Thank you. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, perfect. Um, so I mean, the short course is just the 5 hour course, and it is open for both cancer patients and survivors and healthcare professionals. The certificate program is the only one that is really for yoga professionals only, because the idea is that you're going to be out there working with cancer patients and survivors. I will follow up with more information because I'm mindful of time. We do give a discount. We do have a live discount for this as right now, and you're going to get information about that at the end. And this is just to say, hey, you've kind of take the first step to understanding. And also we want to reduce the cost so that ultimately, if you think oncology yoga is something you want to do with your life and add to your toolbox, then we want you to get certified. And so we want to offset those costs as much as possible to ensure that it's transparent and easy and accessible. The 75-hour program, so as I mentioned, is starting in January. It goes for 6 months. It is delivered in various different modalities. We were one of the first to start offering online training in 2015, well before the pandemic. It is not you get a box of DVDs and you have to watch them over a period of time. It's a learning management program that takes you through a series of curriculum, which I'll go to in a second. And it's a progressive learning pattern that you must learn the foundation before you can get to the next stage. So it comes with an extensive manual that we should be publishing, and we might publish, because it takes both third-party information, our own information, and testimonials and research from other third parties. And the other part is that it's very self-paced and flexible, but there are some deadlines that we require that people achieve, and we support you along that. Our goal is that everyone gets certified so that they're out there working in the world. And part of that role of supporting you is that we have mentors. In these mentors, there's specific ways that they engage with you to ensure that you really understand and you comprehend the information, and then you're able to put it into practice. The regular tuition of this is nearly $1,600 for 75 hours. That's actually just over $20 per hour. So I know that seems like a big price tag, but it is actually a pretty affordable rate. But what we're trying to do so that we can plan, we're giving everyone a discount. If you register early, then we can plan more effectively and efficiently. So it is a $200 off if you register before July 10th. July 10th? Wow. October 10th.
July 10th.
I know. October 10th. Okay, so this is the curriculum, and I don't expect anyone to see this. So do not worry. This curriculum is easily downloadable, and I'm going to send a copy to you. What I want to do is to kind of point that this is a thing that you should review, because this is the progressive learning power. This approach. This ensures that you do not have an imperfect understanding. It's like an onion. We peel back every single layer. The first is to really understand the foundation of why we're doing what we're doing. Second is to really deep into what the cancer patient, the physical, the emotional, and the mental challenges that a cancer patient. We go into actually what is the treatments, how those treatments impact, what are the side effects, all the different staging, everything you can need. I know that is one of the more challenging modules, but it is one of the more rewarding of foundation. Then we go into the science of yoga. Then once you have those two things, then you can really understand, how do you actually do oncology yoga? What is the method? How do you apply? Before you have those two things, you can't really understand what that protocol is, because you have an imperfect understanding. Then we talk about ways to teach and how to teach and practical applications of putting this out into the world and what that means. And we talk about trauma informed language. We talk about how do you answer the tough questions? How do you manage those challenges, both your own challenges and those that come to you for help? So I wanted to you'll have an opportunity to download this and have a look, but I wanted to give you, I just remind you to definitely have a look at that. I mean, I presume most people have done some type of online learning in years past. I had to go into this a lot more, but I just want to kind of think that this might be a little bit different than a online course that you've gotten DVDs and with a notebook. It's a progressive online learning process. We recommend about 3 to 5 hours per week, every week, because then you're building upon the foundation. And a lot of you are probably already teaching. And what we've seen is that you then take those skills and that understanding and you apply it into your laboratory of your classes, and it becomes then really easy and second nature. So the one thing, the computers, you need to have a computer is recommended, but we've had people do it on iPads and phones. But a computer is recommended because there's a fair amount of word processing where you're asking you to fill out worksheets to kind of understand stuff. And sometimes that can be challenging on a smaller device. I'm going to keep going, Tari. So what are the 3,000 professionals that we have trained to date? They're teaching in hospitals, cancer centers, research centers, yoga studios, online. They're offering private. Many of them are therapists. I think I'm actually doing an analysis of about 30% of our full teachers are actually yoga therapists, along with being a yoga professional or a yoga teacher. Some people don't take this and teach oncology specific classes. Some of them just used to modify existing practices in classes. Some people support their family members or caregivers. Some people are using it to support themselves. So it's a range of different applications to this. Upon certification, you get access to an exclusive area of the website, and you get exclusive tools from marketing toolkit to proposals. We have a forum, we have exclusive events, we have a webinar in a couple of weeks, we have a bunch of other things coming up. We have tons of resources so that, because our learning is continuous. There's new evolution in all the different all the different treatments that we need to make sure that we're on top of. And we want to make sure that our teachers and our existing community is well trained. This just is images. We relaunched our directory. So right now you could go on and see where teachers are in your community. Now we're still working to get everyone to update their information, but as of right now, this has over 1,000 teachers live and active teaching worldwide. We have teachers in almost every single continent, or we actually do have teachers in every single continent except Antarctica, but I might get there someday. So it gives me a goal to tackle. The other thing that we are really committed to doing is advocating through research and outreach. I just was having a meeting with some partners to really provide ways that we can get to new audiences to ensure how does oncology yoga both become prescribed and available, right? Oncology yoga is prescribed and available to all those touched by cancer. And so a lot of what we're doing behind the scenes is advocacy and research. One of your homework is going to be, if you have not already, is to ask you to download and read the white paper. This gets really into the weeds more of the research and the why we need to be doing what we're doing. I want to save time. I've already gone through that. All right. And I think death of PowerPoint is to be done, and I'm going to tackle any questions that we have. But before that, I just wanted to give you homework from this. So one is I'm going to be sending you an email after this. If you have not already, please download the white paper. It is available in English, Spanish, because I know that there's a fair amount of Spanish speakers that are registered for this webinar, and in Japanese. This is I think it's 17 pages, but it is not only a great resource for our community, but every one of our teachers walks into hospitals every day and has effective conversations with oncologists and healthcare. So we just got a teacher who just got a local insurance company to fund a series of ongoing oncology yoga classes in a senior center that she's been fully funded to do it. And she did it by printing out the white paper and going and having a conversation, because they were having just chair yoga classes. And she says, you're not doing enough. You could do better by your community. And she was effective, and she got an insurance company to pay for it. So these are the type of things that that we're all often trying to share and collaborate. Take a class with Tari or the beginner series. I'm also going to give you an option. So you get more of this. The beginner series, we actually partnered with Yoga Alliance and really focused on the side effects, because our goal was to try to identify some of the common side effects that cancer patients across all different types of cancer face, and give sequences, short sequences that could make it more approachable and accessible. I'm going to give you a link to do that. I'd strongly recommend that you get a better understanding of who we are and what we do and why we do it. And then if you are interested in becoming certified and joining us, don't forget about that deadline. That is the best price, because we're really trying to offset the cost by being more efficient on our side and managing. So we're going to give you an email. After this, you'll get an email to activate all of that. All right, let's go to questions. So I've got two in the chat, and I will pull up the questions that we had gotten prior. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we can address that. So I've already addressed, Tari did a great job in talking about how diaphragmatic breathing is stimulating the thoracic duct. So we already explored that. And I just want to highlight that Tari did a great synopsis in a few minutes, but the reality is that actually the science behind that is much longer. Like, you really need to know the anatomy around it and the principles, but I think that's was a great beginning of that. I have another one, says, I'm currently a yoga instructor and yoga therapist offering yoga classes for people with cancer, and I want to deepen. What certification do I recommend? I recommend that you get the 75-hour. I mean, there's no chance of covering the 75 hours of information in a 5-hour course. I mean, we quite often review other programs curriculum, and we see them doing it in 20 hours, 30 hours. We just don't understand. We've never seen the possibility of doing that, because there is just a burden of information that is required for you to understand what both a cancer patient and survivor is going through, and what the science on, and then how do you address those concerns.
I would add to that too, that even associations such as the International Association of Yoga Therapists recommends that yoga therapists who've been trained as yoga therapists, we know that in the training programs, cancer as a topic is gently, if at all, touched on. And the IAYT recommends that a more extensive knowledge is needed in order to be dealing with cancer patients and survivors. I would add to that you know, when I say the risk factors and the do not do lists come up, it's surprising to people where those kinds of things come from when we are speaking to those who are being treated with our known treatment programs, known cancer treatment protocols. So that's really important to understand, that what you need is a longer a longer list of the what not to do and how to substitute for them. And that's what our certification program provides.
There's a question from someone talking about classes. I presume that you're meaning about how it's best, how often someone should participate. So how often someone should be participating, a cancer patient? I'm going to go back to the American Cancer
American Cancer
Survivors
Society.
recommendations. They've made our job very easy because it does give us a protocol. It's the American Cancer Survivor in 2014 said it should be 150 minutes of moderate exercise, which active yoga is in the category of moderate exercise. If you are carrying, if you're obese or carrying extra weight, that is when they recommend 320 minutes of exercise per week and moderate exercise. So the 320 is pretty overwhelming, I can imagine. But the 150 is what we try to encourage. So what does that mean? 2 classes a week, 3 classes a week with some walking. You don't have to just do it. So that's what our recommendation. Now, we understand that actually, especially post-pandemic, it's been very challenging to find yoga classes. Lots of hospitals and cancer centers have increased. There's been a significant rise in centers that are providing that, which is a real relief because they then do the direct referrals. But we also know that people are less likely to participate in longer practices online. So that is why we've created a lot of these shorter classes to kind of spur together, to spur an interest and engagement. So our beginner series, which we partnered with the Yoga Alliance, was put together. There were 6 side effects. Each of those side effects was done between 10 to 15 minutes. And we are really focusing on a wide range of side effects just to kind of create that engagement. But the idea was that you could put them all together for a full practice. And then that would be your 60 minutes. So to go back to what do we recommend? 2 to 3 and supplement to get that 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week.
And let me add in here too that because we are dealing with cancer treatments and individuals, those treatments vary from week to week, from day to day, as to how it affects the individual. And what I do today as a 30-minute practice may evolve, to have the same components, which we talk about a lot in the certificate training, is we want to make sure that we are doing a certain amount of warm-up, a certain amount of building strength and bone, but that may vary from day to day. It may be that one day we do it on a mat, and the next day we are doing our full, with all the components of a full practice in a chair, and that's totally fine. And that is where, as a trained certified teacher, you will know how to make those variations within a session, and also vary it in terms of not just duration, but intensity. So there are some days where you're more energetic than other days. And it's really important to know how to vary the practice, which is not formulaic. It's not exactly the same every time. And it's not, but there are elements that should be included in every session. So if that's helpful to answer that question.
Yes. And I think I just reviewed all the questions that we had got submitted prior, and I think we tackled them all. So I'm not going to go, and I know we're at the 1 o'clock mark right now. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send us an email. As I said, you're going to get an email with a lot of the follow-up information around this. We tried to have this meeting, this session, well advanced of the 10th.
Deadline.
Oh, and the other thing I meant to point out, that there's 2 other things that are deadlines of the 10th. We tried to make sure that the deadlines were coordinated. Is one, we do have a limited scholarship application and program going on. These tend to be very competitive and need-based, but that application is due on September. Wow. October 10th as well. There's a link for that in the website, and I'll provide it in the email. Also, we've introduced a payment plan process because we understand that I fully understand that is quite a commitment, and sometimes spreading that out over a period of months. So there's a 4-month period. That payment plan option ends on October 10th as well, just because we run out of time. It's 4 months in advance of the program. So wanted to just highlight that as options. Again, that will be on the email for you that you will be receiving. So I'm not sure, Tari, is there anything I'm checking? And I think lots of people are dropping. I will read this. So I have one question. I haven't even pre-read it, so I hope it thinks regarding pediatric oncology yoga, which we have several teachers that specialize in that. I specifically think I would like to focus on this population. I know there's a section of the training on the training, and I assume that much of what we've learned in the training can be applied and modified to children's and adolescents. Is that correct? Tari, would you like to answer that?
Well, I would say that is kind of what I think is really important about the methodology, that it is not formulaic to one specific group or one specific cancer or one specific age. It's very, very adaptable. And I have witnessed our teachers taking the method and using it with all different age groups. And we have senior teachers who have specialized in pediatric oncology very successfully. So I would say that we don't have a section that focuses specifically on children in the training, but you could take that in your application in your practicum and take the methodology and use your practicum application to that particular specific group. So I think that would be a wonderful contribution to all of us to see how that would happen and how you would do that.
Okay, I think that is everything. So again, we just hope that this is the beginning of a long-term relationship, and that we hope that we helped clarify the what, why, and how of oncology yoga. And ultimately, we hope that we gave you the information to ensure that if this is part of the world that you want to work in and you want to ensure that you're providing safe and effective support to cancer patients, because they are 40% of the world's population, then I hope we identified ways that maybe you should be thinking about it in a different way, and how we can partner together to ensure that we are creating, our goal is that cancer patients worldwide live longer and healthier and happier lives. And we think that a practice like this can help. So I think I'm just going to call it there. If anyone has any follow-up questions, please send us an email and you will get an email from us later. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to welcoming you to one of our trainings.